Hello, my name is Brandon Kellogg, and I will be doing a Nuzlocke of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Now for those of you who do not get a chance to see my first Kingdom Hearts Nuzlocke where I completed Kingdom Hearts 1, be sure to check out that video, as well as this one. For this Nuzlocke, the rules will be the same as they were for the last video, which are also listed in the description. Rule number 1. Each Kingdom Hearts game must be played on the hardest possible mode. Number 2. The run officially begins under one of the following conditions. The first condition is when the prompt appears in that game saying from this point forward, when your HP reaches 0, it's game over. Or if no such prompt appears in that game, then the run begins after completing the tutorial and or leaving the first world. For this game, the tutorial ends just after Marluxia teaches you about cards and then forces you into one fight. Therefore, the run officially begins following that fight. Rule number 3. Anytime the main playable character dies, it is unable to proceed due to story reasons or other game mechanics, such as being saved by Mickey, the first Sabor fight, auto life, the Coliseum tournaments, and so on. The run is automatically over. This does not apply to this run, but as an additional challenge, gummy ship deaths also count as a game over. Number 4. The run is completed upon finishing the main story. For Aqua challenges, the final episode must also be completed. And rule number 5, anything that can be nicknamed must be nicknamed. I also play with early save clause, which means that at any point before the run officially begins, if I saved the game, I can continue from that save point on later attempts to skip lengthy and boring cutscenes, such as unskippable tutorials. As I said previously, these rules are listed in the description. So let's find out if I can complete a Nuzlocke of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. I begin by starting the game as Sora and on Proud mode, and then by skipping through loads of cutscenes and, most boring of all, the tutorial with Marluxia. Here we learn that we can only attack with our Blue Eyes White Dragons, shout out to Just a Pancake, before being forced into a battle with some Heartless. Because this is still a part of the tutorial, we can equate this to the first rival fight in a typical Pokemon Nuzlocke, combined with the fact that even the noobest of noobs will have a very difficult time dying in this fight, so we can utilize early save clause immediately after. Following this fight and following the save point and moving on to the first room, where I use the Tranquil Darkness card, our run has officially begun. I do a bit of grinding and environmental searching as I want to find many cures, Zeros, Nines, and Blizzards as possible without using an early Moogle room. Lots of casual Chain of Memories players bizarrely go the Agrabah first and load up on Moogle points, only to waste all of them on useless cards that end up saturating their inventories with potions, ethers, kingdom keys, 3 wishes, fires, blizzards, and cures, all but one of which is even useful long term. I go the Agrabah last on the list instead of the first 5 worlds, because Heartless have the most HP possible that way, giving Aladdin more sword hits without killing the Heartless, enabling more Moogle points to drop. Furthermore, instead of wasting Moogle points immediately, I save them for when I can significantly increase my chances of getting actually good cards like Mushu, Cloud, Oblivion, Oathkeeper, Elixirs, Mega Elixirs, and so on, all of which starts after getting the secret treasure at the Destiny Islands. Now of course, Clouds can be found in basic packs as early as completing Olympus, but the odds of that happening are so small that it's not even worth discussion. You may also have noticed that while I usually recommend getting slates every time they are available when you level up, I take note of the fact that dying and having the better deck than your enemies is actually superior to having all of the abilities available, so I ignore the first few slates for the time being to prioritize HP and CP bonuses. I make short work of the guard armor with a little help from Pluto, and then move on to the first fight against Axel. This is his first official appearance in the series, which surely will not have been the only time fans of all shapes and sizes fell in love with him. I use a few slates, including Simba and Kira, thanks to the cure I found in the environment around Traverse Town. Pluto also helps me retrieve some lost cards before I deliver the finishing blow with a Blizzard. Because Cloud is extremely powerful, I make a point to go to Olympus Coliseum first to increase my chances of finding Cloud cards in the environment. I do some grinding and slowly make my way towards the boss fight against Cloud himself. This fight proves to require minimum effort as I take him down and salvage the spoils of a high potion. I move on to the God of the Underworld, where I embarrassingly forgot to take out fire from my deck, so I use it in a slate on him with full HP so I can discard it with no repercussions. I riskily summon Donald for reasons I still do not understand and get rewarded as he doesn't cast fire, so that's nice. After some back and forth fighting, I patiently reload my cards in a tedious effort to get his HP down, which ultimately ends up needing Pluto's help yet again. Sadly, he finds fire, but at the very least, I finish him off and I move on to bigger and better things. I choose to go to the place that Donald calls, quote, nice and peaceful looking. Donald, what are you talking about? You mean seeing life-sized mushrooms, plants that can talk, in a world that only makes sense if you're high? say looks peaceful, and only after hearing a talking rabbit say he might lose his head do you then say it might be dangerous? Either the translation team did a horrible job with Donald's line, or Square Enix, and by extension Tetsuya Nomura, does not understand what Donald Duck would actually say in this situation. Regardless, I finished the stream that night and came back on a bit later, and I realized I hadn't nicknamed my deck yet. So the first thing I do is fix that by renaming Deck 1 to Magic Carp. As I begin though, I accidentally type in F instead of A, and then I press the circle to delete the F, and then this happens. Wait, really? This contains a restricted character combination. You're telling me Kingdom Hearts censors their deck names? Okay, I'm really interested in testing this out now. No freaking way. That is amazing. Now I want to go back and play like 1 and all these other games to see if they censor that too. That is really interesting. Maybe this is like well known and I'm just now... This will be interesting. Let's try this one. This gets censored on more websites than I care to count. No way. Okay. I'm getting carried away here. Let's try... Interesting. So... Okay. I think I've... So you can say damn, but you can't say... Let's try this. So you can say damn, that's interesting. Here's another one. Okay. I know they say this throughout the series a few times. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. They say hell twice in the entire series. Okay, this is really interesting to me. Let's try. Let's see if they. Let's see if they outsmarting people. Let's try this. Okay, so you can work around the censorship. This is really interesting. Okay, so I have been playing this game for 22 years, ever since it came out. I did not know this was a thing. It was actually an accident that I discovered this. I was trying to do, what was I even trying to name this? Oh, I was going to name it Magic Carp, and I did MF on accident. And then I hit the circle on accident because I was trying to go backwards. And that's when I realized it was getting censored, and I was like, why would it? And then I was like, oh, because it stands for something. So, that's really interesting. I'm sure somebody else has figured this out before, but this is news for me. Okay, well, I didn't think I could learn more about Chain of Memories, but I stand corrected. You heard it all. Kingdom Hearts has censorship, and I just found out while live streaming. Wow, that is beyond surprising to me. After 22 years of playing Kingdom Hearts, I had no idea this was even a thing. You learn something new every day, I guess, even in early Kingdom Hearts games. Now that that is all out of the way, I do a bit of grinding before fighting against the Queen's loyal card soldiers. I take a wave down before Oh, okay, that was not expected. Well then, just like that, my run ended. Okay, so I guess we're doing attempt 2 now. This looks like it may be a little harder than I thought. Okay, so this time at the guard armor, I begin a strategy that I will be implementing for the rest of the challenge. The moment my deck reloads, I will be shortening the reload counter as closely to finished as possible to shorten wait times and reduce my risk of dying, which makes this fight a lot smoother, as well as many future fights, which you will see shortly. I fight Axel again and win semi-comfortably, and return to Olympus and then beat Cloud before making my way to the blue-haired loner. At this time, I used a Moogle room for 1 pack of blue cards, knowing that I would get more cures, which I usually only allow myself 1 of, but only when I'm in a really tight spot. This time though, I also remember to remove fire from Magikarp, and I set up a Blizzard Raid for convenient use, and I end up missing it anyway. Shame. This fight goes as cleanly as the first, and then I make my way back to the so-called peaceful place, according to Donald Duck, the all-knowing travel agent. Upon returning for revenge against the card soldiers, I equip Magikarp with an extra Blizzard and a Curaga, but I also add Cloud and a High Potion, which will surely come in handy. This fight goes very similar to the first, causing me many problems and headaches, almost killing me a couple of times, but I make sure to have the reload counter shortened, as well as having a Cura ready at a moment's notice. Which still doesn't feel like it's enough, because I still find myself constantly behind on health. However, one last Blizzard Raid finishes the job, and I survive my first scare of Attempt 2, earning me the Card Soldier enemy card. I equip all 4 of my Blizzards in the fight against the Trickmaster, and stay sane and fully healed throughout the entire fight, keeping the reload counter shortened, and whittling down his HP, which proves to also have its challenges, as my health finds itself low multiple times during this fight, but after a wimpy failed Blizzaga, and some high patience endurance, I prevail in what felt like an eternity of a fight, earning me another enemy card and allowing the Nuzlocke attempt to survive to see another world. I opt for Monstro this time, as I consider the Parasite Cage the harder boss than Oogie Boogie, so fighting the Parasite Cage will ensure that it has lower health, and by extension, make the fight a little easier. I'm also awarded with High Jump, and then I move on for some more grinding, and then before the fight, I edit Magikarp with a few more Keyblades that I found throughout the environment. During Heartless bosses, anytime I get a Mickey Gimmick card, I always use it immediately to increase the chances of finding another one, because if I save it, I cannot find another one because only one can be held at a time. After an underwhelming challenge and a couple Blizzard Raids, I take it down and move on to Halloween Town, the place where the Boogeyman is real and school is not. This fight goes exceptionally well, and I handily take him down for the easy dub. In Agrabah, I extort Aladdin's swordsman skills and collect a large surplus of Milgul points that I don't use for at least 5 more worlds. Collect the useless ether and find myself fighting an evil red genie that has all the cosmic powers in the entire universe. He could literally destroy all of humanity with a single snap of his finger. This guy is scary as heck, truly the final boss of all time. I'm so worried about what attacks he might decide to use on me. Oh, he tried to swing his arm at me. So he just did what anybody else could do by hitting me? No, wait, don't fall for it. He's just toying with me because he's trying to get me to lower my guard so that once I think I have the upper hand, then he is going to snap me out of existence, Thanos style. I need to stay focused because this genie is truly the final boss of all time. Maybe if I just pretend that I'm invisible, he'll keep trying to swing his arm at me. Oh, well, that didn't work. Okay, I wonder when he's going to snap me out of existence. At least if he's going to give me all this time, I may as well attack this innocently small and helpless bird because I'm the main character, and main characters do that kind of stuff. They attack helpless birds while waiting for their inevitable demise. All joking aside though, I finish off the bird with a blitz, which conveniently was holding the lamp, which is also conveniently a prison for truly the final boss of all time. I move on in preparation for the fight against Larxene. Now, I made a miscalculation thinking that I was at a high enough level to learn Sonic Blade, but I discovered that that's not until level 27, so I will be without that ability for this fight. I make a few errors which nearly costs me the run, but I recover in time to heal in a pinch, and after whittling down her HP with Blitz and Blizzard Raids, she's down to 1 health bar before unleashing Beast Mode. But then using Goofy Smash, I take her down, earning me access to 4 more worlds as well as Thunder. Now in the first world on the 7th floor, regardless of which world you choose to go to besides the 100-acre wood, there is always a key to rewards available from one of the Heartless in the environment in the unknown room. I have personally tested this claim that I'm making multiple times, and I have never, ever needed to recycle through worlds and reset the unknown room with Heartless again on the 7th floor before finding a key to rewards. It has always happened the first time through. Now, if you choose the 100-acre wood for the 7th floor, then the same is true for the 8th floor instead. Again, I have tested this several times. and I have not been wrong so far. One of the Heartless will drop a key to the rewards in this room, so we will exploit this to access Mushu in Contraptionville City, as well as the Mega Elixir in the Polynesian Islands. I use a Moogle room for the free pack of cards, and then I head towards the octopus that decided 50 feet tall was enough and stopped growing there instead of continuing until she was literally untouchable. Whatever. We will exploit that mistake and take her down like the cockroach that we are. Like I said before, screw you, Ursula. Afterwards, I square off against the actually real and authentic Riku using a combination of Sonic Blade, Blizzaga, Cross Slash, Kiriga, and more Sonic Blades. After reloading the reload counter just twice, I put myself in prime position to win with a blitz before finally taking him down with another cross slash. I go hilariously out of order next by going to Contraptionville City because of the same reason that I did the Parasite Cage before fighting the Boogeyman. Captain Hook is arguably easier than Maleficent because Sonic Blade spam is a lot easier on the Captain than it is on the Dragon. Combine that with the fact that fighting Maleficent earlier lowers her HP by a bit, it really just makes this route all the more desirable. I end up going into a guarded trove and I have the blonde mode of the Sentry by forgetting that I don't have Glide. So, yeah, that was fun. I then use a white room to make my expensive clouds and cures premium to cheapen their costs and afford me more room for more cures and clouds. Now, the interesting thing about premium cards is that upon using them once by themselves, they disappear for the rest of the fight unless you happen to have an item card. But if you use them as the second or third card in a slate, they stay with you, which is a great exploit that we will surely be taking advantage of multiple times for the rest of this Nuzlocke. Now, upon unlocking Key the Rewards, I realized that I had completed all of Chain of Memories as well as 358.5 Days, the movie, which unlocks hidden enemy cards through the main story within Key the Rewards throughout the game. But I will not be allowing myself to use these enemy cards, but attack cards will be allowed. This is just to keep the mode more balanced and difficult, as using the Roxas enemy card essentially makes the first Marluxia fight a huge cheese. Against the Fae in her dragon form, I attempt to continue breaking her cards to prevent her Eternal Flame to make its way to the floor, but sadly I do fail to prevent that from happening 2 different times, which nearly gave me a heart attack as my HP significantly dropped while trying to get out of the fire. I mash the X button a little before preserving my Thundara slate, and then she uses her Eternal Flame once more. Towards the end of the fight, I discovered that Sonic Blade on the platform is actually enabled, which had I known at the beginning of this fight, I would have built Sergei, my newest deck, very differently. Before fighting against the authentic and actually real Riku for the second time, I make some more modifications to Sergei, leading off with a Sonic Blade Blitz and another Sonic Blade. I take down his health slowly while keeping my HP at the max, and squeezing in a Goofy Smash in the process. I finish him off with a Sonic Blade and a Fire Raid, collect the spoils, and move on to the ship in the middle of an endless sea, not to be confused with Neverland, as the real Neverland is an island with magical abilities, mermaids, and the like. This is just a normal ship with normal Heartless and a bearded man for its captain. Nothing really fancy to see here. Prior to that, though, I make my way back to the bottom of the endless sea to collect another Key to the Rewards, which takes exactly 4 fights. Now, while fighting the Heartless aboard a ship in the middle of an endless sea, I actually get a scare by a combo attack by a pirate that nearly ends the entire run. I thankfully averted this though and decided that it was time to get more HP. If you are enjoying this video, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button, as it really helps grow the channel, and I would really love to do this kind of stuff full time and not DoorDash for a living. I won't ask you to share, though, this video or comment on it because I understand that that actually takes a lot more work and brain power, and some of you might feel it's a lot more pressure than you can probably handle. Before fighting the captain of the ship and that is in the middle of an endless sea, which from this point on I will just name an endless sea captain, I remove all thunders and blizzards from Sergei and replace them with as many fires as possible. This is because the captain is immune to thunder, normal damage to blizzard, but he is vulnerable and he flinches by fire. We'll be exploiting this with fire raids as well as fire gas. Now, this fight immediately gets very interesting right away because instead of random values, he leads off with the pirate enemy card, which makes his entire deck all zeros for 1 reload. I've actually lost to this strat before because of how fast he attacks and pops out his cards. I actually feel like I can never get an attack in. So I exploit with dodge roll, and I am careful not to heal until he begins to reload. After that, I'm confident that I can win moving forward, which I do handily with a Sonic Blade. Now, usually I complete the 100 Acre Wood first in my Chain of Memories runs rather than last in the second section, but this time I wanted to do it last so that I could access all the items in one run rather than needing to go back with Glide for Spellbinder, combined with the fact that I still didn't really have access to Sonic Blade on the 7th floor, and without a world with Heartless, I would have been forced to fight the first Riku fight without Sonic Blade. But now that I am here with Glide, I'm able to access Spellbinder. So I finished this world obtaining key item cards in the Elixir and Mega Ethers, which will absolutely come in handy later. I keep all of the fires I can in my inventory for the fight against Vexen, which is an easier fight than the next one. But on to that in a moment. As for now, I lead off with a few Sonic Blades. I use a few more slates to whittle down his HP before getting into a position to actually win the fight. A few more Sonic Blades and Fire Argas later, I use a couple Fire Raids, dodge a freeze, and deliver the final blow with the last Sonic Blade and an attack. I move on to Twilight Town, where I do some massive grinding in preparation for Vexen 2, as this fight has proven to be among the more difficult fights I have ever faced in this entire game. I load up on CP over what feels to be around 7 to 10 levels, which puts me in a prime position for a brand new deck, which I name Horsefart. With 775 CP, I feel ready to take on Vexen. But this time I add Captain Hook's enemy card for access to Second Chance, as well as the Parasite Cage enemy card to break his Air Pirate enemy card, which gives him Item Bracer for 3 reloads and access to all of his cards lost in slates, which is very bad. I add the newly obtained Elixir and Mega Elixir to Horsefart and load up on Sonic Blades at the ready, several fires, and all 4 of my clouds. At this time also, all of my cures are now premium, so I have no qualms about adding a 4th cure for that second use of Curaga. I move on to fight against Vexen 2, where the epic clash begins. I lead off with Captain Hook and follow up with 2 Sonic Blades before Vexen can even get off an attack. 2 more Sonic Blades later, I use Fire Aga and Fire Raid, followed by another Fire Aga, which requires breaking his 25 powered slate first, so therefore I break it with a 0, and then use an Omni Slash successfully, and dodge his freeze, but then I find myself down to low HP, so I heal, followed by 2 more Sonic Blades and a 3rd one shortly after. His next freeze connects on me, but then I follow with another Fire Aga and Fire Raid. I use a few more basic attacks, and then he uses his Air Pirate card, which I immediately break with a Parasite Cage, so then he counters with using Vexen, giving him auto life. I use Omni Slash right after, and then I make a calculated risk by using Donald level 3, and hysterically he uses Blizzaga not once, but twice. Wow, this is why nobody likes you, Donald. This is why. I reload and use another Sonic Blade, and then Kira behind a fire. Another Sonic Blade, another reload. Vexen proceeds to spam item cards, which I break all of, and then use a few more slates. Leaving him no choice but to reload, I exploit the reload time by using an elixir to give me all of my lost cards, which will now be more than enough to win the fight. I use a few more Sonic Blade, trigger auto life, 1 more Sonic Blade, and then 2 more Fire Agas, which delivers the final blow. Fittingly, it would turn out, as that's how Axel disposes of him. I do not make any changes to Horsefart and go straight into the fight against authentic and genuine Riku number 3, leading off with several Sonic Blades and wash, rinse, repeat of the previous fights. I deliver the final blow with the Sonic Blade and move on to the Destiny Islands, where I go to grab the Mega Elixir in the Key to Rewards room. I then square off in a laughable fight against the Dark Side, which is hardly worthy of an analysis. I emerge victorious and confront this strange, creepy girl that Sora has never met before. I also just want to point out and make a really big emphasis on the fact that he has never met her before. Never. Not once. Ever. At all. Never. I obtain Oathkeeper and head towards the 13th floor of the castle. I make some more modifications to Horsefart as a double battle is upcoming, and then square off against genuinely real Riku number 4, only this time he is a little stronger. He gets a few hits on me before I lead off with 4 consecutive Sonic Blades, and then I follow with a semi-weak but successful Fire Aga, and then I use Fire Raid and another Kiraga and another Fire Aga before Riku finally says these lovely words.
Fire! You gotta be kidding.
I use an Omni Slash, break a Dark Aura, use a Sonic Blade, and put myself into a position to win. Oof, I died. Okay. I did not see that one coming. But I had a Vexen card in use, aka Auto Life, buying me more HP, affording me time to break his slates, use Kiraga, and then finish him off with a Sonic Blade.
This is it. This isn't the end.
That one was close. In the next fight against Larxene, I lead off with Vexen, followed by 4 Sonic Blades. Now Goofy and Donald's help may prove invaluable, but I refuse to use Donald for any more elemental boss battles because we know what happens when we do. I slowly get her HP down before healing and then finishing her off with one last Sonic Blade, sending the witch 15 years into the future for her surprise debut in Kingdom Hearts 3. In Castle Oblivion, I spend a lot of time grinding and increasing my levels through cards I saved from earlier in the game, in cards such as Strong Initiative and Meeting Ground, which spews experience orbs a lot faster thanks to striking Heartless in the environment in Strong Initiative rooms and easier access to Trinity Limit in Meeting Ground rooms. I use a few more Moogle rooms to splurge the bulk of my Moogle points that I have been saving the entire game, and I am awarded with several Clouds, Mushus, which I end up not using at all, Oblivions, Oathkeepers, and several desirable item cards. By the time I finish preparing for Axel 2, my HP and CP count are so high that I make an entirely new deck from scratch, replacing Magikarp, which I name Naomi, and a whopping 1000 CP. I remove all the fires from it and replace them with several blizzards, and I throw in several clouds, another 0 attack card, and I keep the elixir and mega ether in, but I also add a mega elixir. Furthermore, I add a wyvern enemy card, which I found while grinding, to Naomi, which stalls the reload counter from increasing for 1 reload. I think for only 20 CP, that's a pretty good exchange. I line up several Sonic Blades, and upon finishing Naomi, I square off against Axel. I lead off with a wyvern, followed by not 1, 2, 3, or even 4, but yes, 5 Sonic Blade attacks, followed by 2 Blizzagas, both of which connect, followed by a third, and then a failed Omni Slash. But the second Omni Slash connects, putting Axel all the way down to 3 health bars. I connect with 2 more Sonic Blades, and then another one for massive damage. I try a Trinity Limit, but it fails, so I resort to another Blizzaga, which connects, and another Omni Slash, which semi-connects. I finish using a Strike Raid, and then a Blizzaga, which takes him down, granting me the Axel enemy card, and unlocking the final room. I make my way down towards Marluxia, and make no more changes at all. Now, I noticed that I only needed about 400 experience to level up, and I was about to ignore that, but I had this gut instinct to level up for some more HP, so I ended up doing that and then squared off against Marluxia. Well, it turns out that that ended up being the difference between this run ending and continuing. As almost immediately upon starting this fight, Marluxia knocks me down to 1 HP. Yeah, 1 HP without Captain Hook. That was complete luck. That RNG. Oh my goodness, without that 0 and without the Kiriga that I use immediately after, as well as the HP bonus that I opted to optionally grab before the fight, this run would absolutely have ended. Using the Wyvern enemy card instead of Vexen immediately definitely comes with its risks, and I found that out almost immediately. I use several different slates though, mostly in the form of Sonic Blade, Omni Slash, and some occasional friend cards that show up here and there. I don't seemingly get close to dying again, but I do try a couple Trinity Limits and they both fail. I use another Sonic Blade, and as I was about to shorten the reload counter, I noticed Marluxia started reloading, so I immediately went for an elixir, restoring several cards lost in slates. I mashed Sonic Blade a few times, with a heal sandwiched in between, and then continue with a few more Sonic Blades, which I have lost count of at this point. I throw in Blizzaga, which connects, followed by a failed and then successful Omni Slash. I then use one more successful Omni Slash, which wastes the illusion of Marluxia 1. I learn my lesson and get the HP bonus from this fight, and then I level up 2 more times to get HP both times in preparation for Marluxia 2 and 3. I make a few more modifications to Naomi, including adding another 0 attack card, but this time at the end of the deck, as Marluxia 3 uses a lot of slates. Afterward, I head inside at level 60. Now, Marluxia 2 is probably the easiest of all 3 of the fights, as he doesn't use slates, but he still does use zeros, so items and slates are not shoo-ins. I lead off with a Wyvern before getting hit several times by his long scythes. I make use of Cloud's aerial Omni Slash and remove one of his scythes from the equation, and begin attacking his core with more Omni Slashes. I try a Trinity Limit, which connects, and that removes his other scythe, freeing up this core for attack. Omni Slash connects for some more chunk damage before I botch a Reflect Raid, and then I resort to some basic attacks, and then he sets up his lasers. I break all of them and get his HP down some more with some more basic attacks. I try a Cross Slash, but that ends up failing, and then a few more basic attacks later, I want to elixir up, so I throw it at the beginning of the slate, and it works. I use 2 more Omni Slashes thereafter, which is more than enough to defeat Marluxia 2, bringing me to the final fight of the Nuzlocke. Rumor has it Strelitzia is fighting alongside him, but time will tell if that's actually the case. I lead off with a Sonic Blade. In fact, make that 2, just kidding. Make that 3, wait, 4, actually, 5 Sonic Blades. Just as I was getting going, though, he connects with his 777 slate, which causes me to lose all my cards. I've lost to this move in the past several times, so I quickly pick up all my cards and successfully survive. I then use another Sonic Blade and follow up with 2 more Omni Slashes. I reload, shorten the reload counter before using 2 more Sonic Blades, the second of which gets broken by 888s, then I quickly break that. I then connect on 2 successful Omni Slashes, which deals massive damage. I then try another Trinity Limit, which connects, dealing about 80% of a health bar. I break several of his slates, seeking use of an item. I attempt to use a Mega Ether in a slate, but that fails immediately, so I attempt it again with an Elixir, which works, giving me dozens of cards back that I lost with only just over 1 health bar to go. He breaks the Cross Slash part of the Elixir slate, but no matter, his death is imminent now. I use 3 Sonic Blades in a row, getting him down to almost 0 HP, and then I finish him off with 1 last Sonic Blade, wiping him out, finishing the run, and ending the entire Nuzlocke with only 1 death. I just want to say right now, this run was even more fun than the Kingdom Hearts 1 Nuzlocke run. Now this was partly thanks to the increased strategy required to get through the game itself, which is a sign that I am going in the right direction for my YouTube channel, since things are getting increasingly more fun every time. I am very happy with the results of this run, and I just can't wait to finish Nuzlocking Riku's side of the game. I'm very stoked and very excited also to Nuzlocke Kingdom Hearts 2, as that introduces Critical Mode, which to this day, I have never completed that game entirely deathless. So I think that we're all being for a thrill ride when that happens. But until then, from one Nuzlocker to another, always, always, always remember to get up on the Hydra's back.